Kira Velthanos stood before the massive viewing window of Earth's orbital station, watching the blue and green planet slowly turn below. Her pale blue skin looked almost gray in the artificial light, and her usually bright golden eyes were dim with exhaustion. She had traveled for weeks to reach this place, and she feared it would all be for nothing. The Rilani coalition was dying. 3 species, living together in peace for over 200 years, were being destroyed by a plague that their best doctors could not cure. Entire cities stood empty. Hospitals overflowed with the sick and dying. Their most advanced medical technology was useless against this enemy. Kira touched the communication device on her wrist. The last message from home was 3 days old. Her own sister was sick now. Time was running out. Ambassador Velthanos, a human voice, spoke behind her. She turned to see a young woman in a blue uniform. "The Human Council is ready to see you now." Kira followed the woman through the station's corridors. Everything here looked so simple compared to Rilani technology. The walls were plain metal. The lights were basic white panels. Even the air felt different, thicker somehow, with a strange smell she could not identify. She had studied humans before coming here. They were new to the galactic community, having joined only 30 years ago. Their technology was behind most other species. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were simple. Their medicine was basic. But they were the only ones left to ask. The hegemony had refused to help, claiming the plague was natural selection. The Zenthari Empire was too busy with their own wars. The Crystalline Collective said they would consider aid after a year of study. Only Earth had agreed to meet with her immediately. The council chamber was small and plain. 5 humans sat at a simple wooden table. No fancy holograms or floating chairs like other species used. Just humans sitting in normal chairs around a normal table. "Ambassador Velthanos," said an older man with gray hair. "I am Council Leader Kim Tae. We have read your request for medical aid." Kira stepped forward and activated her holoprojector. Images of her dying people filled the air between them. Sick children in hospital beds, empty streets that once bustled with life, doctors standing helplessly as patients died around them. "Council Leader Kim Tae," she began, her voice steady despite her fear. "My people are dying. In 6 months, maybe less, the Rilani coalition will be extinct. Our plague kills 90% of those infected. Our medicine cannot stop it. Our technology cannot cure it. We have nowhere else to turn." She paused, looking at each human face. They showed no emotion, but their eyes were focused, listening to every word. "We know humans are new to the galaxy. We know your technology is not as advanced as others, but you are our last hope. If you cannot help us, we will all die." The humans looked at each other. Kira held her breath. She expected them to ask for time to think, like all the others. She expected them to want something in return: mining rights, territory, technology. She expected them to say no. "We will help," said Kim Tae simply. Kira blinked. "You, what?" "We will help your people," he repeated. "We will send doctors and medical supplies immediately." "But," Kira struggled to find words. "You have not asked for payment. You have not asked what we can give you in return. You have not asked for time to consider." A younger woman at the table leaned forward. "Ambassador, people are dying. There is nothing to consider." "When can you leave?" asked Kim Tae. Kira felt her knees go weak. You really will help?" "Just like that?" "Dr. Park Hyon is our best medical officer," Kim Tae continued. "Engineer Kim Dae leads our emergency response team. They can be ready to leave within the day." "How many ships will you send?" Kira asked. 3 ships, 2 with medical teams and engineers, 1 military escort. Kira's heart sank a little. 3 ships would not be enough. But it was more than anyone else had offered. 2 hours later, she watched from the observation deck as the human ships prepared to leave. They looked strange compared to other vessels she had seen. Blocky and gray with no elegant curves or bright colors. They reminded her of tools rather than ships. Dr. Park Hyon found her there. He was a tall man with kind eyes and gentle hands. "We will do everything we can," he told her. "Doctor, I must be honest. Other species have tried to help. Their medicine did not work. Their doctors could not understand the plague. What makes you think humans can do better?" Park Hyun smiled. "Maybe we cannot. But we will try until we succeed or die trying. That is what humans do." Behind him, engineer Kim Dae was loading strange equipment onto the ships. Kira had never seen anything like it. crude-looking boxes and tubes that seemed ancient compared to standard medical technology. "What is all that?" she asked. "Field hospitals," Kim Dae explained. "Built to work anywhere, even in disaster zones. They are not pretty, but they do not break easily." Captain Li Wan, the military escort commander, approached them. He was younger than Kira expected, with sharp eyes and a confident walk. "Ambassador," he said with a slight bow, "my ship will ensure your safe passage home. No one will interfere with this mission. Thank you, Captain. But I should warn you. There are rumors that the hegemony is watching Rilani space. They may try to stop anyone from helping us." Li Wan's expression did not change. "Let them try." As the ships launched, Kira felt hope for the first time in months. She did not understand why humans were willing to risk so much for strangers. She did not understand why they asked for nothing in return. But she was grateful. The journey home took 12 days. During that time, the human teams worked constantly. They studied everything Kira could tell them about the plague. They asked endless questions about Rilani biology and medicine. They modified their equipment to work with Rilani systems. Dr. Park Hyun surprised her most. While other species doctors had been careful to avoid any risk of infection, he insisted on examining actual plague samples. He even asked to visit infected areas immediately upon arrival. "Is that not dangerous?" Kira asked. "Yes," he replied calmly. "But you cannot fight an enemy you do not understand." When they finally reached Rilani space, Kira saw the human ships differently. They still looked crude and simple, but now she thought they looked determined. Like their builders, not fancy or elegant, but absolutely unwilling to give up. The real test would begin now. Could these humans succeed where others had failed? Could they save her people? Looking at the confident faces around her, Kira began to believe they might actually have a chance. The human ships landed on Rilani Prime like metal boxes dropping from the sky. No graceful descent or elegant landing patterns. Just 3 gray vessels setting down hard on the emergency landing pad outside the capital city. Dr. Yuki Toshran, the Rilani chief medical officer, watched through her office window as the humans began unloading their equipment. She had worked with alien medical teams before. They usually brought sophisticated scanning devices and sterile isolation chambers. The humans brought boxes that looked like they were built in someone's garage. "They look so primitive," said her assistant, a young Rilani named Vera Nelkonis. "Perhaps," Yuki replied. "But they came. That is more than the others did." The hospital's main doors slid open and the human team entered. Dr. Park Hyun led the way, followed by Dr. Han Sol and Dr. Yoon Ja. Behind them came the engineers, Kim Dae, Choi Min, and Nam Soo. They all wore simple gray uniforms and carried basic equipment bags. "Dr. Toshran," Park Hyun said with a respectful bow, "we are here to help. Where are your sickest patients?" Yuki hesitated. Most alien doctors wanted to start with data analysis or equipment setup. The isolation ward is on level 7, but the infection risk is extremely high. We should begin with a briefing and safety protocols. "We will need full protective gear," added Han Sol, "and we will need to examine deceased patients immediately." Yuki's eyes widened. "Examine the dead? But that is dangerous. The plague remains active in dead tissue for days." "That is why we need to see it," Yoonja said simply. "You cannot fight what you do not understand." Within an hour, the humans had set up a mobile laboratory in the hospital basement. Their equipment looked ancient compared to Rilani technology. Physical microscopes instead of quantum scanners, chemical analyzers instead of molecular processors. But they worked with a speed and efficiency that impressed Yuki. "This is barbaric," whispered Vera, as she watched Dr. Han Sol cut tissue samples from a plague victim. "They are contaminating themselves." But Yuki noticed something else. The humans were not afraid. Every other medical team that had tried to help spent most of their time avoiding infection. These humans walked right into contaminated areas like they were visiting friends. Meanwhile, the engineering team had already begun working in the city's infected zones. Engineer Kim Dae and his people wore protective suits and carried their crude-looking repair tools directly into areas where the Rilani emergency teams feared to go. "Your power grid is failing in Sector 7, Kim Dae reported to Infrastructure Minister Nara Velkonis. "We can fix it, but we need to work inside the contamination zone." "That is impossible," Nara replied. "The infection risk is too high. We cannot ask you to do that." "You did not ask," Choi Min said with a smile. We volunteered. By the end of the first day, the humans had accomplished more than any previous aid team. They had examined dozens of patients, collected hundreds of samples, and restored power to 3 infected districts. They worked without breaks, eating simple meals from packages while they continued their tasks. Dr. Yuki found herself working alongside Dr. Park Hyon in the isolation ward. She watched him examine a dying child with gentle hands and worried eyes. "You care about them," she observed, "even though they are not your people." "They are people," Park Hyon replied. "That is enough. But the risk you are taking, if you become infected, you could die far from home." Park Hyon looked at her with those calm human eyes. "Doctor, if we were not willing to die to save lives, we would not be doctors." On the second day, something unexpected happened. The humans began showing symptoms, but not of the plague. They developed headaches and fatigue from the planet's atmosphere. Their skin became irritated from the different air composition. But they kept working. "You should rest," Yuki told Dr. Hansol, who was swaying on her feet. "Your body is not adapted to our environment." "Neither was yours when you first evolved here," Hansol replied. "But you adapted. We will too." The breakthrough came on the third day. Dr. Yunja made a discovery that changed everything. "This is not a natural plague," she announced to the assembled medical team. "The genetic structure is too precise, too targeted. This is a biological weapon." The room fell silent. Yuki felt her blood go cold. "A weapon?" she whispered. "But who would do such a thing?" "Someone who wants your people dead," Dr. Park Hyon said grimly. "And someone who knows enough about Rilani biology to target your specific genetic markers." Engineer Choi Min had been quietly working on the city's infrastructure systems. Now he spoke up from across the room. "I found something else. Your power grids, water systems, communication networks, they have all been sabotaged. Small changes, hard to detect but designed to make the plague spread faster." Nara Velkonis stared at him in shock. "Sabotaged?" "But that would require someone with access to our most secure systems. Someone we trust." The implications hit everyone at once. This was not just a plague. It was genocide. And someone inside the Rilani coalition was helping. Dr. Hansol stood up slowly, her face pale but determined. "We need to work faster. If this is a weapon, we can fight it. But we need more information." "What kind of information?" Yuki asked. "We need to understand exactly how it works, and we need to find out who built it." Over the next few days, the humans worked with an intensity that amazed the Rilani. They slept only a few hours each night. They ate while working. They pushed their equipment and themselves beyond normal limits. Engineer Nam Su discovered more sabotage in the agricultural systems, subtle changes that had weakened Rilani immune systems months before the plague arrived. Kim Day found evidence of coordinated attacks on medical supply lines. Everything had been planned. But the humans also began to make progress against the plague itself. Dr. Park Hyon discovered that human immune responses were different enough from Rilani that they might hold the key to a cure. Dr. Yunja identified specific proteins in human blood that attacked the plague organism. "Your immune systems evolved differently," she explained to Yuki. "Earth had many plagues in its history. Your immune systems learned to fight them. Ours did not. So you might be naturally immune, not immune, but resistant, and resistance can be transferred." Meanwhile, Captain Lee Wan's ship maintained a careful patrol of the system. He claimed to be conducting routine exercises, but Yuki noticed his ship's movements were very precise. "Very watchful. Your military escort is nervous about something," she mentioned to Dr. Park Hyon. "Lee Wan is a careful man," Park Hyon replied. "He wants to make sure no one interferes with our work." "Who would interfere with medical aid?" Park Hyon's expression grew dark. "The same people who built a weapon to kill your species." On the 7th day, long-range sensors detected ships at the edge of the system. Large ships, military ships. The identification signals marked them as hegemony vessels. "They are just watching," Captain Lee Wan reported. "But they are definitely watching." Yuki felt fear creep into her heart. If the hegemony was involved in the plague, they would not want the humans to succeed. They might try to stop the aid mission entirely, but when she shared her concerns with the human team, they seemed unconcerned. "Let them watch," Dr. Hansol said calmly. "We have work to do." "Are you not afraid they might attack?" Dr. Park Hyon smiled, the first real smile Yuki had seen from him since they arrived. "Doctor, we did not come here unprepared. Captain Li Wan's ship is not just an escort, and the hegemony is about to learn something important about humans. What is that? When we say we will help, we mean it. And we do not give up easily. That night, as Yuki worked late in the laboratory, she realized something had changed. For the first time since the plague began, she felt hope. Real hope. The humans were not like other species. They did not work from a safe distance. They did not avoid risks. They walked directly into danger and started solving problems. They treated Rilani patients like they were treating their own families. And if Dr. Park Hyan was right about human immune systems, they might actually have found the key to saving her people. But first, they would have to deal with whoever had created this weapon in the first place. Dr. Hansol stood over the quantum microscope, staring at images that made her blood run cold. The plague organism looked wrong, too perfect, too designed. No natural virus had structures this precise. Dr. Park, she called across the laboratory, you need to see this. Park Hyan joined her at the display, followed by Dr. Yoon Ja and their Rilani colleague, Dr. Yuki Toshran. The images showed the plague's genetic structure in horrible detail. Look at these protein chains. Hansol pointed to specific sections. They are built to target Rilani DNA specifically. This section here attacks their immune system. This part targets their nervous system, and this part ensures the organism can survive in Rilani body temperature but nowhere else. It is like a key made to fit only one lock, Yoonja whispered. Whoever built this studied Rilani biology for years. Yuki felt sick. You are certain this is artificial? Completely certain, Park Hyan replied grimly. This is a biological weapon designed to commit genocide. And it was made by someone with access to detailed Rilani medical data. The implications were terrifying. Someone had planned the destruction of the entire Rilani coalition. Someone with resources, knowledge, and patience. Across the city, engineer Kim Dae was making his own disturbing discoveries. The sabotage of Rilani infrastructure was more extensive than anyone had realized. Water purification systems had been modified to spread the plague faster. Air circulation systems had been altered to help it survive longer. Even food distribution networks had been compromised. This required inside help, he reported to Minister Nara Velkonis. Someone with high-level access to all your critical systems. Nara's face went pale. That would mean someone in our own government. Or someone working with them, Kim Dae said carefully. We found communication logs that were hidden in your system maintenance records. Coded messages sent to coordinates outside your space. What coordinates? Kim Dae showed her the data. The messages had been sent to a location in hegemony space. Meanwhile, in the hospital's pediatric ward, a young Rilani medical student named Tara Helvonis was helping Dr. Yoon Ja prepare the first test of their experimental treatment. Tara had volunteered to be the first test subject despite the risks. Are you sure about this? Yoon Ja asked her for the third time. We do not know if this will work. It could make you sicker. I am already sick, Tara replied weakly. The plague had infected her 2 days ago. Without treatment, she would die within a week. If there is a chance this could help others, I want to try. The treatment was based on human immune responses. Dr. Park Hyan and his team had isolated proteins from human blood that attacked the plague organism. They had modified these proteins to work with Rilani biology, but it was still experimental. The injection will feel strange, Dr. Hansol warned as she prepared the needle. Human immune proteins react differently than yours. You may feel hot or dizzy, Tara nodded bravely. Dr. Yuki held her hand as the injection went into her arm. For the first hour, nothing happened. Tara's condition remained the same, weak, fevered, and getting worse. The doctors monitored her vital signs carefully, ready to stop the treatment if it caused problems. Then, slowly, things began to change. Her temperature is dropping, Dr. Yoonja observed. Immune system activity is increasing, added Dr. Hansol. The plague organisms in her blood are decreasing. Park Hyan reported with growing excitement. By the 6th hour, Tara was sitting up in bed and asking for food. By the 12th hour, she was walking around the room. By the end of the day, all traces of the plague had disappeared from her system. It worked, Dr. Yuki whispered in amazement. The human treatment actually worked. But their celebration was interrupted by urgent news from Captain Li Wan. The hegemony ships at the edge of the system were moving closer. More ships were arriving every hour. They are positioning for a blockade, Li Wan reported to the medical team. I think they want to prevent us from sharing the cure. Can you stop them? Dr. Park Hyen asked. Lee Wan was quiet for a moment. My ship is fast and well armed for an escort vessel. But against a full hegemony battle group, we would not last long. Dr. Han Sol looked up from her work. How long do we need to prepare the cure for mass production? At least 3 days, replied Dr. Yoon Ja. We need to synthesize enough human immune proteins for millions of patients. And how long before the hegemony reaches us? Captain Lee Wan checked his sensors. 6 hours. Maybe less. The laboratory fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. They had found the cure, but they might not have time to use it. There is something else, Engineer Choi Min announced as he entered the room. I found the source of the sabotage. Minister Nara, your communications director, has been sending coded messages to Hegemony Command for over a year. Nara looked shocked. Director Bexlon Karras? But he is my oldest friend. We have worked together for decades. He has been coordinating the entire operation, Choi Min continued. The plague, the sabotage, everything. He even provided them with the genetic samples they needed to build the weapon. Why? Nara whispered. Why would he do this to our people? Kim Dae pulled up more data on his portable display. According to these messages, the hegemony promised him control of Rilani mining operations after the coalition fell. He thought he was saving himself and a few chosen survivors. Dr. Yuki felt rage building in her chest. He helped them murder billions of people for money? It gets worse, Engineer Nam Soo added as he joined them. The hegemony never intended to honor their deal. I found their real plans. After the plague finished its work, they were going to eliminate all remaining Rilani, including Bexlon Karras. So he betrayed us for nothing, Nara said bitterly. People do terrible things when they are afraid, Dr. Park Hyen observed sadly. But that does not excuse what he has done. The group was interrupted by the sound of alarms. Captain Lee Wan's voice came over the communication system. All personnel, this is Captain Lee. The hegemony fleet is demanding that we leave immediately. They claim the system is under their protection, and that our presence is an act of aggression. Dr. Han Sol looked at her colleagues. What do we do? We keep working, Dr. Park Hyen said firmly. We came here to save lives. We are not leaving until that job is finished. But if they attack, then they attack. But we do not abandon our patients. Dr. Yoon-ja began preparing more doses of the cure. If we are going to die here, let us at least save as many people as we can first. Young Tara Helvonis, now fully recovered, looked at the humans with wonder. You would risk your lives for strangers? For people who are not even your species? You are not strangers, Dr. Park Hyen replied. You are patients, and doctors do not abandon their patients. Captain Lee Wan appeared in the laboratory doorway. His expression was grim but determined. I have orders to defend this mission at all costs, he announced. My ship may not be big enough to fight a whole fleet, but we will not go down easily. What about reinforcements? Asked Engineer Kim Dae. Can Earth send more ships? Lee Wan smiled for the first time since they had arrived. Earth already sent everything we need. What do you mean? You will see. Just keep working on that cure. And trust that humans plan for every possibility. Outside, the hegemony fleet moved into attack position. Inside the laboratory, human doctors worked frantically to save as many Rilani lives as possible before the shooting started. But Captain Lee Wan seemed strangely confident for someone about to face impossible odds. Dr. Yuki wondered what he knew that he was not telling them. Soon, they would all find out exactly what it meant when humans promised to help. And the hegemony was about to learn why it was a very bad idea to threaten people under human protection. The hegemony flagship Dominator hung in space like a metal mountain. Its weapons pointed directly at the small human escort vessel. General Bex Moore-Clanis stood on the bridge, confident in his overwhelming advantage. 50 warships against one human escort. This would be over quickly. Human vessel, he broadcast on all frequencies. You are trespassing in hegemony space. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. On the bridge of the human ship Defender, Captain Lee Wan listened to the threat with calm eyes. His crew of 20 looked relaxed, almost bored. This surprised General Moore-Clanis. Humans about to die should look more afraid. General Moore-Clanis, Lee Wan replied. This is Rilani space, not hegemony territory. We are conducting a humanitarian mission under galactic law. The Rilani coalition no longer exists. Moore-Clanis sneered. These worlds are under hegemony protection now. Leave or we will remove you. Li Wan checked his chronometer. General, I think there has been a misunderstanding. Would you like to reconsider your position? Are you threatening me with one small ship? No, General. I am offering you a chance to leave peacefully. Morclanus laughed. The human captain was clearly insane. You have 10 minutes to begin withdrawal. After that, we will fire. Li Wan smiled. Thank you, General. 10 minutes is perfect. Down on the planet, Dr. Park Hyan heard the exchange over the communication system. He looked at his colleagues working frantically to produce more cure. Captain Lee seems very calm for someone about to fight 50 ships, Dr. Yuki observed nervously. Li Wan is always calm, Park Hyan replied. It is one of his most annoying qualities. But how can he be so confident? This is impossible odds. Engineer Kim Dae looked up from his equipment. Doctor, humans have a saying. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. We always hope we will not need our backup plans. What backup plans? Kim Dae smiled. You will see. In space, General Morclanus was growing impatient. 8 minutes had passed and the human ship had not moved. If anything, it seemed to be positioning itself more aggressively. General, his sensor officer called out, I am detecting some kind of transmission from the human ship. Very low frequency, very long range. To where? I cannot tell, sir. The signal is heavily encoded. Morclanus frowned. Why would they send messages now? Who could possibly help them? He got his answer 2 minutes later. General, the sensor officer shouted in alarm. Multiple contacts appearing throughout the system. Ships decloaking everywhere. The tactical display exploded with new signals. 1 ship became 10. 10 became 50. 50 became 100. Sleek human warships materialized from apparently empty space, surrounding the hegemony fleet completely. Where did they come from? Morclanus demanded. They were cloaked, sir. Hidden throughout the system. We never detected them. From his position in the center of what was now clearly a trap, Morclanus watched in growing horror as more ships continued to appear. These were not small escort vessels. These were massive battle cruisers, bristling with weapons and defensive systems. The largest ship uncloaked directly in front of the Dominator. It was twice the size of the hegemony flagship, painted in human gray and blue colors. The name on its hull read Indomitable. General Morclanus, a new voice came over the communication channel. This is Admiral Jang Q of the Human Colonial Defense Force. You are surrounded and outgunned. Stand down immediately. Morclanus stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Over 200 human ships now filled his sensors. Where had they come from? How long had they been hiding here? This is impossible, he whispered. Earth does not have this many ships. Admiral, he broadcast, trying to keep his voice steady. You are interfering with a legitimate hegemony operation. These worlds were abandoned by their government. Negative, General. We have evidence that the hegemony deliberately created and deployed a biological weapon against the Rilani people. That constitutes an act of genocide under galactic law. On the planet's surface, Dr. Yuki watched through the hospital windows as the sky filled with human ships. They moved with precision and purpose, forming defensive patterns around the inhabited worlds. How long have they been there? She asked in amazement. Captain Li Wan's voice came over the intercom. About 3 weeks. Ever since we detected the first signs of biological weapon usage in this system. 3 weeks? But you only agreed to help us a week ago. Dr. Park Hyan looked up from his work with a slight smile. Doctor, do you really think Earth would send medical aid into a potential war zone without proper protection? You mean you knew about the hegemony involvement before we even asked for help? We suspected, Engineer Kim Dae admitted. Human intelligence services have been tracking hegemony biological weapons development for months. When we detected weapon signatures in Rilani space, we began preparations. Dr. Han Sol continued working on the cure while she talked. The medical mission was real. We genuinely came to save your people, but we also came prepared for the possibility that someone might try to stop us. In space, Admiral Jang Q was explaining the situation to General Morclanus with polite but firm words. General, we have complete records of hegemony communications with your agent in the Rilani government. We know about the biological weapon development. We know about the infrastructure sabotage. And we know about your plans to eliminate all Rilani survivors after the plague finished its work. Morclanus felt his confidence crumbling. You are bluffing. You cannot prove anything. Bex Loncaris has already confessed, Admiral Jiang Qiu replied calmly. Minister Nara convinced him to tell the truth about his involvement. We have recordings of his confession, along with all the communication logs between him and your command structure. Even if that were true, you cannot threaten the hegemony without consequences. We have allies. We have treaties, so do we, General. In fact, the Galactic Council has already been informed of your war crimes. They are very interested in discussing this matter with hegemony leadership. Down on the planet, young Tara Helvanis was helping distribute the cure to patients in the hospital. She had become the symbol of hope for her people, the first to be saved by human medicine. Dr. Park, she asked, as they worked together in the pediatric ward, did humans really bring an entire fleet just to protect a medical mission? Park Hyun looked at her with those calm, kind eyes that had become familiar to all the Rilani patients. Tara, when humans promise to help, we mean it, all of it. We do not send doctors into danger without protection. We do not abandon people who need us, and we do not allow bullies to threaten the innocent. But the cost must be enormous. All those ships, all those soldiers, why spend so much to save strangers? Because you are not strangers, Park Hyun replied simply. You are people who needed help. That is all that matters. In space, the standoff continued. General Morclanus found himself facing an impossible choice. He could attack and face certain destruction against overwhelming odds. Or he could retreat and admit defeat to his superiors. Admiral Jiang Qiu, he said finally, what are your terms? Complete withdrawal from Rilani space, full cooperation with Galactic war crimes investigations, and reparations to the Rilani people for the damage caused by your biological weapon. And if we refuse, Admiral Jiang Qiu's voice remained polite but carried an edge of steel. Then we will consider this system under human protection indefinitely. Any hegemony ship that enters this space will be treated as a hostile force. Morclanus looked at his tactical display one more time. 200 human ships, all of them larger and more advanced than anything in his fleet. All of them positioned perfectly to prevent any escape. You planned this entire operation around protecting a medical mission? He asked incredulously. General, humans learned long ago that the best way to help people is to be prepared for those who might try to stop you. We hoped we would not need this fleet, but we brought it anyway. Just to save some aliens you barely know? To save people who needed saving, Admiral Jiang Qiu corrected. Their species does not matter. Their location does not matter. What matters is that they asked for help and we said yes. General Morclanus finally understood what his intelligence reports had missed about humans. It was not that they were weak or primitive. It was that they were willing to risk everything to protect others, even strangers. And anyone foolish enough to threaten people under human protection would face the full might of Earth's military. We will withdraw, he said quietly. Wise choice, General. Please note that this system will remain under human observation until the Rilani people are fully recovered. As the hegemony fleet began its retreat, Dr. Yuki stood in the hospital watching human ships patrol the skies above her world. For the first time in months, she felt truly safe. The humans had not just brought medicine. They had brought hope, protection, and the promise that no one would face extinction alone while Earth was watching. 6 months later, Ambassador Kira Velthano stood in the same observation deck where her desperate journey had begun. But now she looked down at a very different scene. Rilani Prime was alive again. Cities buzzed with activity. Hospitals were treating routine injuries instead of plague victims. Children played in parks that had been graveyards just months before. The human ships still orbited overhead, but they were no longer warships preparing for battle. Most of the battle fleet had returned to Earth, leaving only a small patrol group. What remained were hospital ships, engineering vessels, and research stations. It is hard to believe, said Dr. Yuki Toshran as she joined Kira at the window. 6 months ago, we were all dying. Now we are planning new cities. Kira nodded, watching a human engineering team working with Rilani construction crews to build a new medical research facility. The humans could have left after the cure was distributed and the hegemony was defeated. Instead, they had stayed to help rebuild. They keep surprising us, Kira admitted. When they first arrived, I thought they were just another species offering limited aid. I never imagined this. Down in the research facility, Dr. Park Hyun was training a new generation of Rilani doctors in human medical techniques. The cure for the plague had been just the beginning. Human medicine offered solutions to dozens of other medical problems that had puzzled Rilani doctors for years. The key is not to avoid the disease, Park Hyan explained to his students. The key is to understand it completely. You cannot defeat an enemy you refuse to face. Young Tara Helvonis, now fully recovered and completing her medical training, raised her hand. Dr. Park, why do humans approach medicine so differently than other species? Park Hyan considered the question carefully. Other species try to avoid contact with disease. They build barriers, use isolation, work from a distance. Humans learn differently. On Earth, we faced many plagues. We learned that sometimes you must get close to the enemy to defeat it. Is that why human doctors are willing to work in dangerous conditions? Partly, but mostly it is because we believe that every life is worth saving. If we must risk our own lives to save others, that is an acceptable trade. Across the city, engineer Kim Dae was working with Minister Nara Velkonis on an ambitious infrastructure project. The humans were not just repairing the damage from the plague and sabotage. They were upgrading everything. Your new power grid will be more efficient and more secure, Kim Dae explained as they reviewed the plans. These communication systems will be faster and harder to sabotage, and these medical supply networks will ensure that no disease can spread this quickly again. This must be costing Earth a fortune, Nara observed. When will you want payment? Kim Dae looked confused. Payment? Minister, this is not a business transaction. This is what neighbors do for each other. But Earth has spent enormous resources helping us. Surely you want something in return? We want you to be healthy and safe, Kim Dae replied simply. That is payment enough. Nara shook her head in amazement. Even after months of working with humans, their motivations still puzzled her. Every other species she had dealt with wanted something. Territory, resources, trade agreements, political alliances. The humans just wanted to help. In the orbital station above the planet, Captain Li Wan was meeting with Admiral Zhang Qiu about the long-term security arrangements for the system. The patrol schedule is working well, Li Wan reported. No hegemony ships have approached since the withdrawal. But I think we can reduce our presence soon. Are the Rilani ready to defend themselves? We have been training their security forces. They are quick learners. And other species are starting to offer genuine assistance now that they see the hegemony is no longer a threat here. Admiral Zhang Qiu nodded. Good, that was always the plan. We do not want to become occupiers. We want to help them stand on their own. What about the broader situation? Other species are watching what we did here. That is the point, Captain. We want the galaxy to understand what happens when you threaten innocent people, but we also want them to understand what happens when you ask for honest help. In the weeks that followed, something unexpected began happening. Other species started contacting Earth directly, not for military alliances or trade deals, but for assistance with their own problems. The Zenthari Empire, usually too proud to ask for help, quietly requested human medical teams to help with a genetic disorder affecting their children. The Crystalline Collective asked for human engineers to help repair damage from a natural disaster. Even some hegemony worlds, disgusted by their government's actions, secretly reached out for humanitarian aid. Dr. Kim Ji, the human cultural liaison, found herself overwhelmed with requests. It seems word has spread about what we did here, she reported to the Human Council. Everyone wants to know if humans will help them too. Council leader Kim Tae smiled. And what do we tell them? The same thing we told the Rilani. If people need help, we will try to provide it. Even former enemies? Especially former enemies. Hatred grows from suffering. If we can reduce suffering, maybe we can reduce hatred too. Back on Rilani Prime, Ambassador Kira was preparing for a journey to the Galactic Council chambers. She had been invited to speak about the human intervention and its aftermath. What will you tell them? Dr. Yuki asked as they shared a meal in the hospital cafeteria. The truth, Kira replied, that we asked Earth for aid and they sent everything we needed. Not just doctors and engineers, but protectors and teachers and friends. Will the other species believe it? Some will. Others will think we are exaggerating. But the results speak for themselves. Kira looked around the cafeteria, where human and Rilani medical staff worked together as equals, where human engineers trained Rilani students, where former enemies had become close friends. The galaxy thinks power comes from weapons or wealth or territory, she continued, but humans showed us something different. Real power comes from being willing to help others, even when it costs you everything. When Kira spoke to the Galactic Council a week later, Her words were broadcast across thousands of worlds. She told the story of how her people had been dying and no one would help. She told them about the humans who came with crude equipment and gentle hands. She told them about the fleet that arrived not to conquer but to protect. Other species offered sympathy, she said to the assembled delegates. Some offered limited aid. Some offered nothing at all. Only Earth offered everything. But surely they want something in return, challenged the hegemony representative. No species helps strangers without expecting payment. Kira smiled. That is what we thought too. But we were wrong. The humans asked for only one thing in return for saving our entire civilization. What did they ask for? Friendship. The council chamber fell silent. 6 months ago, my people faced extinction. Today, we are stronger than we have ever been. Not because we are more powerful, but because we are no longer alone. Earth taught us that the galaxy can be more than a collection of competing species. It can be a community. After her speech, delegates from dozens of worlds approached Kira privately. They wanted to know if the humans would really help anyone who asked. They wanted to know if Earth's promise of aid came with hidden conditions. They wanted to know if humans could be trusted. Yes, Kira told them all. Humans can be trusted. But be warned, when they promise to help, they mean it completely. They will send doctors who risk their lives for strangers. They will send engineers who work until they collapse. And they will send fleets to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Even if we are not human, especially then. Humans believe that suffering is suffering regardless of species. They believe that everyone deserves to live free from fear and disease and oppression, and they ask nothing in return. They ask that you treat others the way they have treated you. They ask that you help those who need help. They ask that you choose compassion over conquest. Months later, the changes were visible throughout the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for centuries began working together on humanitarian projects. The Galactic Council established new protocols for responding to medical emergencies. Trade in weapons decreased while trade in medical supplies increased. The hegemony faced war crimes trials and was forced to pay massive reparations to the Rilani people. Several hegemony worlds seceded from their government and asked to join more peaceful alliances. And through it all, human ships could be found wherever help was needed. They arrived quietly, worked efficiently, and left when their job was done. They never conquered territory or demanded tribute. They simply helped and moved on to the next crisis. Dr. Park Hyon, now running a medical training center on Rilani Prime, was asked by a journalist why humans were so different from other species. I do not think we are different, he replied thoughtfully. I think every species has the capacity for compassion. We just decided to make it our priority. But why? What do you gain from helping strangers? Park Hyon looked out the window at Rilani children playing in a park that had been built on the site of a former plague ward. We gain a galaxy where children can play safely. We gain neighbors instead of enemies. We gain the knowledge that when we are in trouble, someone will help us too. And that is enough. That is everything.